Welcome to a special holiday Thanksgiving edition of Mental Fitness, where I'm trying not to be super jealous of Tim Peck because he gets to be in person with my favorite Republican, Christopher Maichin. Give him like 10 hugs for me. We are going to discuss two things today, two big things. First, why did our brains break when we saw President Trump and newly elected New York City Mayor Mamdani meet peacefully at the White House? Let's talk about it. And let's discuss gratitude and why that helps improve our everyday happiness, like practicing gratitude. So, okay, Tim, try not to be too jealous. How are you two doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. We just went to apple picking.
Yes,
with
the cider mill.
The cider mill with little Cass, my son.
Aww.
So getting the family together, doing some fall-like activities, and just being together.
Aw, yeah, again, I'm so happy for you. Yeah, I'm so happy for you. And it's just been like...
Exactly, Republicans, Democrats coming together.
In the same cider mill.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, a mixture of very politically active people in your family. Yeah. And Tim, you've grown up with that at the dinner table, at Thanksgiving dinner, discussing differences without losing tempers and being able to have discussions where you can compromise. That kind of makes sense knowing you now, you're so good at it. Oh, you've grown up that way. And then it makes sense knowing this 21-year-old political genius, Christopher Maichin, is your nephew. It makes more sense to me now. So I'm really happy to be with you all while you're on location with the fam.
I'm in a house with some Trump voters right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then the other side of the family that'll be coming tomorrow is more Trumpy too. So we get a little hodgepodge of it all.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, I wish I could sit in on those conversations. Fascinating. Yeah, okay, so we're going to talk two things. First, the Mamdani Trump White House meeting, which literally broke our brains, and then gratitude. So if you guys didn't see it, you can just pause the episode and just research it on social media and see the clips. I don't know when it happened, a few days ago?
3 days ago. It was Friday, to be sure.
Okay, so on Friday...
I watched the whole half an hour of it.
Okay.
Which is different than the clips for sure.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that.
Oh, yeah, because I've just seen the clips. I haven't seen the whole half an hour. The clips were hard enough for me to handle. So they met for a half an hour in the Oval Office, right? Trump sitting down, Mamdani standing up. I don't know whether that was the whole half an hour. Was the whole half an hour like that?
That was just the press conference after their meeting.
Okay. Did it show the meeting?
No, that was private between the two of them.
Okay.
And they spoke a lot about what they spoke about in the meeting, where their commonalities were. One of the things that I thought was awesome about their commonality was Mamdani Mamdani, excuse me, I said it wrong, was speaking to voters in Queens in particular. He was talking about and speaking to Trump voters and said kind of they were going to vote for me. And they voted for Trump. Like, how can you be someone to vote for both of those people? And like the national narrative, as well as the New York City narrative, would say you would never want to vote for both of those people. But really where they came together on was they both ran on affordability.
Yeah.
And they both had ideas about making their lives more affordable. And they both were very outspoken about those ideas. And they were both very fresh with newer ideas that were more challenging the status quo in very different ways. And those voters liked both of those things. And so there are voters that voted for both of them.
It was pretty smart to start that conversation that way with what do you have in common?
Yeah. And so I think like this goes back to what we've said like so much throughout these podcasts is everybody wants the same thing right now. We just have very different ways of how we think we can get there. So especially targeting affordability. Affordability was a huge part of Trump's campaign. And obviously people in New York City aren't feeling any alleviation from what Trump said that he would promise. So then when you can have somebody who has power on that local level. Usually a mayor of your city doesn't have, meetings with the president of the United States, right? So being able to have that person, I don't agree with Zhhran in most of what he wants to do, but I want to see New York City do well. And I also think that's the thing about Trump is he's a native New Yorker. He loves New York City. He credits himself with building up New York City in the 1970s. So he wouldn't want to see his hometown, his place where he has his name in the sky, right, in New York City, to completely crumble. But we also see with the rhetoric, and I think this is just typical Trump rhetoric, is when he's on TV, when he's on Twitter or, Truth Now, it's like crazy commie Mamdani, all of this stuff. And then they meet in person. It's like, wait, okay, they both realize they're normal human beings. That's
right.
A lot of Democrats say, like Bill Maher said, when he had dinner with Trump, he was like, I was shocked. Like, this is not the guy that I see on TV.
That's what it was for me.
Things, and that's what we kind of got a view into.
I would like
with
to
the Zhhran.
He conceded things,
yes,
which was very good to see. And there's a lot of memes. If you've watched the clips and looked at the memes about, Trump reaching up to.
Right.
You could call me a fascist.
You can call me a fascist.
Yeah, it's fine if you call me a fascist.
When you watch the whole thing, that was the second time that Mamdani tried to answer that question. The first time he dodged it, and he was not quite saying anything of. He went back to affordability and his messaging and obviously talking points. And then they asked him a second time, and he was about to dodge it again. And Trump's like, "It's all right. You think I'm a fascist? That's fine.
Just do it."
You're seeing it in real time when trolls on the internet meet in person. Like. That was what that was.
Well, exactly. And then that's when you realize
you're like all these trolly, awful things that we've seen on whichever side we are.
Right.
And then it's actually two human beings that have things in common. And another thing that was jarring for me is I'm constantly bombarded by the liberal media about what an evil person Trump is and why I do not agree with his politics. And I do think he's hurting the country. I also realize he's a human being. But what was so hard for me to face was he seemed older and frail. And I had empathy for him, like I would have empathy for someone that is a senior citizen. So that was another part that was kind of, because we're always evil, strong, scary guy. And really he is what, 79? Yeah. 79, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And so not only was he being really nice to Mamdani and saying, sure, call me a fascist, it's fine. But he just seemed older and it made me care about him as a human. And that was hard for my brain because, again, I'm bombarded with the
It was hard
evilness.
For your brain, is I think the name of this episode, right? It was hard for my brain. And so after he said the fascist thing, they asked Trump, well, you've called him a communist. You've called him a socialist. And your favorite woman from Staten Island, what's her name?
Elise Stefanik?
Elise Stefanik.
No, Nicole Malliotakis is from Staten Island. Elise is from upstate.
Okay, so Elise Stefanik said, called him a jihadist.
Oh, yes.
A jihadist. And what do you think, Donald Trump? And he's like, yeah, he's a socialist. Yeah, he absolutely said it, but then he distanced himself from the
communism,
the jihadism piece.
Yeah, which is pretty extreme word to use.
And as you said, I'm used to Trump. I'm used to the clips of him. I'm used to liberal media. I do watch a lot of what he does for press conferences stuff, and he goes over the line a lot. He decided not to go over the line in that moment. And I think it was in that moment when watching this press conference is when it became, oh, wow, this might actually work. We might actually work together.
Yeah.
What if we just stopped? What if we had control over our media and our news and we just stopped the division? Like, bam, Marjorie Taylor Greene seems reasonable now. I'm ready to go with it.
Well, now she's out of Congress.
Yeah.
And then she's leaving and I'm sad. It's like, oh, I just started to appreciate her viewpoint and then she's leaving. What if we just stopped the division and we took this new version? We let it all go. All the scary things Trump said, all the scary things the Democrats said, and we just started putting Americans first because clearly the majority of the country is unhappy with our government on both sides. Like, can we just imagine how good that would be for us if we could do that? Like,
yeah. I also think that this is like, in my own thinking about the political strategy behind it all, because obviously I think this was intentional going into it. What both sides have really benefited off of is hating each other, right? Especially with Zhhran and the far left, right? It's just become anti-Donald Trump everything, right? So that's really been able and enabled people like Zhhran to rise up and just to rile up their base. When they see Donald Trump joking, laughing, conceding some things to Zhhran, saying that he would want to work together with him, that on both sides diffuses so much tension, because I am like, wait, do I not scream out and say, call Zhhran a communist anymore, right? And the other side be like, do I not call Donald Trump a fascist anymore? Like, wait, they want to work together? So maybe even though they're both on the extremes of each side, this is the first time that we're actually seeing some inching towards the middle, because they both know that they're not each going to get their way. So there's going to have to be some compromise in there.
I would say when we say inching toward the middle, and we talk about this, like, what is the middle? There's middle in terms of policy, and that's what we used to call middle, right? And compromise doesn't mean middle.
Right.
Be a fascist and a communist, who they both kind of agreed to it, like that they are. Right? They owned it. In fact, they asked Mamdani, and he said, "Yeah, I'm a democratic socialist." Right? He said it right, and Trump said, "Yeah, people have called me worse than fascist," meaning like that's not even the worst that I am. No. So like, and there it is. But compromise doesn't preclude your policies, right? And so you can figure out a way to work together. And you talked about the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing. I read her letter for her resignation letter, and yeah, there were some things I absolutely disagreed in there in terms of her policy. But it was pretty reasonable what she was saying.
That's wild.
Yeah. Exactly. And like that you were saying, like a month ago, I was like, Marjorie Taylor Greene is some crazy woman, right? Exactly. And then she goes on The View, and I'm like, okay, is she gearing up for a Senate?
So that's interesting. So you, the Republican, you thought Marjorie Taylor Greene was just really out there.
She was a crazy MAGA, nut job, whatever. And which she apologized for too. In her interview, she said, I've realized how much I have played into this rhetoric, right? And especially after the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the assassination attempts on Trump, she was like, wow, what I say is actually having an effect on the way people are acting.
And it could hurt her. It could hurt her when she goes up and does political speeches in front of thousands of people. Being divisive can hurt us. Our words can hurt us. So I think that was a big wake-up call for her own life. She's a mom, right? Doesn't she have kids? So like this happening shows our words matter. We need to think carefully. In a big problem with the internet, this isn't some mystery I'm solving. We all know this, but a big problem with the internet is it's like it's safe to say terrible things.
There's also like you're saying, that it's safe to say terrible things. There's a dehumanizing of the people that are our leaders, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is a perfect example of that. She's a caricature of herself. That's what we think of her. In that letter, she talks about a time where she had to leave the bedside of a loved one who was going in for surgery for brain cancer because she had to get back for an important vote in DC. And she was just talking about how heavy that is on herself, on her family. And she was saying thank you. She was grateful to her family for giving that support, but it was time for her to spend more time with them. And so, I mean, Sarah, as much as I do, how real that is, how hard that is of this.
Yeah. Do we go to an event and pick up 5 votes, or do we put our children to bed? It's a thing that you and I wrestle with when we're asked to go to events. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I get it. I get it. Yeah. And it was so human. And also Marjorie Taylor Greene is smart. She's smart. She knew during that divisive time when the internet was blowing up to be divisive, to get elected. She knew how to do it. And it doesn't mean that I agree with it. I was very against most of the things she was saying, but she was smart and she knew how to get elected, and it worked. And then she sees, oh, this division has consequences, violent, terrible, horrific consequences. I'm going to change the way I'm doing things because again, she is smart.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's still not room for a lot of the people who are being civil across the lines, right? And so the room doesn't exist, so Marjorie Taylor Greene goes away, right?
Yeah, which is sad. I was just getting to like her.
Jared Golden isn't running for
Jared
re-election.
Golden's not running, who's someone who is...
He's my district in Maine, and he's a Democrat.
Is that the person that wrote a really good op-ed explaining on the mental health of how it's hurting him to be a congressperson? And other congresspeople agreed with it. Yes, it's really hard to be in this. Yeah.
He was getting a lot of death threats, a lot of the threats against his family.
And so he dropped out. Bacon from Nebraska, who's a Republican who works across the line, but a staunch conservative who works across the line. He's dropped out. Tom Tillis, who's North Carolina senator who voted against the big beautiful bill, and he's a Republican. He's dropped out. And there's this idea of primarying them, right? And we realized a couple of days ago, speaking to people, like, oh, Trump's not going to primary them, because I think some people thought that means Trump is actually going to run against them.
No, it means he'll find somebody and put money and back them,
money, etc., back them. So it's interesting that when I was talking to a voter to really explain that, because we use the shorthand, and we always have to think like, okay, our political shorthand doesn't always mean what we think it does. Anyway, so that's what's happening here in Indiana as well with our gerrymandering problem.
That's what I was just going to say. But even though we're seeing Trump as human, we're having empathy for him, he legit is messing with you, Tim Peck, you right now, because I thought we had gotten enough Republicans in Indiana to stop gerrymandering, to stop this special session. I even said it on the show yesterday with my Do Something Southern Indiana person, Chad Snow, and I was bragging about it.
What happened yesterday? So yesterday they recalled the special session. So they're going to do the special session.
I didn't hear that.
December 8th, we're supposed to have a special session where they might vote to redistrict the 9 congressional districts, to make it so they can get 9 Republicans instead of 7. And so that affects you, Tim.
It's the final kind of straw, the final play in the card deck that Trump has to say, even if you don't pass this, I want you to vote on it. So we put the record on as Republicans voting against it so that he can primary those people.
And our governor, Mike Braun, is doing whatever Trump says. He's not like sticking up, even though it's very obvious Hoosiers don't want this. He's completely doing what Trump wants, where it should be the people we elect should be listening to those that elected them. So it's so frustrating, because I thought we had this. I thought we
the last poll showed like 67% of Republicans wanted it, which is higher than it's been, but it was like 2% of Democrats wanted it, right? And independents, it was in the 20s.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
So the majority of Hoosiers don't want it.
For sure. And those 67% of Republicans, most of them lived in the very red areas of the state. So, that's a dynamic of what are you going to do? You're going to represent these pockets of individuals, or are you going to represent the whole state?
And I also think as we talk about gerrymandering too, it just becomes so much more common, and we don't realize the actual rules that go into place for it. Like, it's supposed to be, there's a census done every single 10 years. And after that census, then you redistrict if needed. But, in a state like New York that I'm in, they redistricted, and then it got struck like midway in 2022, and it got struck down by the New York Supreme Court. Texas, they redrew to their districts, and the Texas Supreme Court just struck it down. But like California, they just passed a ballot initiative expanding Democratic.
Well, they did that because of what the Republicans are trying to do.
Is this what because this is what politics have become, is I do this, so therefore I'm going to just do the same thing to help my party, rather than say, no, this is wrong in general. As a state, I'm going to stand by the Constitution and not redistrict for another 10 years.
And we could fix it. We could fix it if we would pass a national law on this, right? Congress, couldn't we fix this?
It's a little tricky with election laws, because elections are controlled by the states. However, there have been many national laws that have dictated what individual states have done, such as the Deep South, where they were having a lot of
racial
gerrymandering, and the federal government came up over the top, and so that does happen. One thing I would say, Maryland's holding out as well. The Democratic head of their, I believe their Senate, maybe their House of Reps, is holding out. There's 8 of 9 currently in Maryland that are Democratic, and it could very easily be 9 of 9, and they're making it so that they're making sure that they don't gerrymander. I believe it's Kansas as well is holding out currently. So there are states that are doing this beyond Indiana. Indiana's in the news quite a bit because it's so red in terms of,
and like the Republican state senators that are publicly saying they're going to vote no have had violent like acts. Like people are calling like bomb threats and stuff, and getting like the SWAT team to come to their house. And even it happened to Governor Braun too. I believe it happened at least 3, maybe more times, to 3 different people. So it's terrible. This is awful. These are human beings. Like, I just cannot believe this is happening to Indiana. Whenever Trump won last November, I did not see this coming. Did you, Tim?
This part? No. I mean,
this Indiana redistricting, Trump focusing on Indiana, pumping at least 2 big social media posts about Indiana, bullying our elected officials to redistrict. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I didn't see Indiana being on the front page of the New York Times, right? So
yeah, being mentioned on Pod Save America. I didn't see it.
I also think like it's, in terms of the political strategy behind it, you go to the areas that you know are safe for you. So it's like you go. It's
India. They don't.
But they assume. But exactly, it's the assumption that Indiana, and that's what, right? I assume, like, I'm not from Indiana. Like, I assume Indiana's solid red. Same thing with Texas, right? But you have,
but we're not.
Their pockets, like 40% of the population, which
is over 40%. So
I think that's the assumption for many politicians too, like Trump, who say, okay, we can go into Indiana. Indiana has a supermajority legislature, a Republican governor. It's a solid red state. We can easily go in and redistrict there, right? Instead of going to a state like Georgia, right? Like Trump couldn't force the hand of Georgia to be able to redistrict like he is Indiana, because everybody has to fall in line in Indiana.
Right. And they're not. And they're not because of local reasons. So if you redistricted Mervan, who's a
congressperson for a Democrat
who's in the Chicago suburb area, and you tried to redistrict to get him out, which is really the goal here. Okay. You would make it so that people are really mad. And we just had a federal poll showing that Democrats are plus 14 onto Republicans in the moment.
That makes sense.
Generic ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Of would you vote for a Democrat or a Republican in Congress? So nationwide, it's plus 14, which makes my district in play if it becomes 14.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which
you have a chance.
Yes. So I have a chance. So just from that, right, without even doing the work, just from that. Mm-hmm. So imagine what happens with you try to redistrict Mervan, people get mad. And you make it so by doing that, as well as maybe even using Indianapolis to dilute others, you now make my district even more playable.
And then the other ones, the other Republican districts now would have more of a chance. So yeah, the elected officials in Indiana, the state ones, don't really want to do it because it hurts their chances of staying elected. So it is interesting. Now, when you first told me this argument, Tim, I didn't believe you because the majority of the Hoosier population, I felt like, had no idea about the redistricting. But since we've been talking about it, it's been in the news for months and months. I go out and talk to regular people and they know what's happening. Right. So I believe you now.
And then the state representatives, state senators, who are the people who are going to vote on it, whose jobs will be also up in a year from now. If people are coming out to vote on the congressional gerrymandering, Indiana is a straight ticket voting state. And straight ticket voting is you're playing with fire if you're the Republicans. Because if you do something wrong and everybody...
They just straight party ticket Tim.
Democrat, all of a sudden, the state flips. And that's what happened with Trump, where our part of the state used to be very, very blue, and it flipped with Trump. So it could happen the other way with something.
Yeah, I think it could too. Like Harrison County, where I live, that's 100% Republican. Not that long ago, it was mostly Democrat.
Right. It wasn't.
So it can flip again based on the other side's doing such a bad job.
Well, that's the problem with voter suppression, right? If you do something bad policy-wise or straight to people, you all of a sudden suppress yourself. So
yeah. Okay, I want to move on to gratitude. Christopher, I'm so thankful that you do this show with me. You're one of the big gratitudes I have of Project Next is me and you doing our mental fitness show every 2 weeks, because hearing you explain what you see on your side and how it's not what we think it is. You're not seeing parents getting taken by ICE like we are and crying and their kids going, that's my mommy, that's my mom. You're not seeing that. Helps me have more empathy for the Republican voter as I'm upset about the ICE stuff. So stuff like that. I'm just so thankful that you and I were vulnerable enough to admit what we're seeing and what we're feeling. But as a whole, I kind of want to talk about what each of us are thankful for and just how important it is that we're grateful, that we have gratitude every single day, because it's so easy to play the poor me card. Like I'll give an example of my morning. This was the first morning I was going to get to sleep in several months maybe, and I was so excited about getting to sleep till like 7. And my kids didn't have school this morning. I normally wake up at 5:15 to get everybody ready and out the door on time. 5 o'clock, my 7-year-old twin wakes up, and I'm like trying to get him to go back to sleep. It's not working. And I just have to remind myself, because I want to do the poor me card. I wanted a little bit more sleep. And then I'm like, I'm so lucky I have my children. I'm so blessed. I have this nice house and I can fix them breakfast and have time. And, so it just changed my attitude. So I wasn't like, oh, I wish you would have slept longer, and it just helps me. But at the same hand, I don't want to act like everybody should be thankful every moment, because we are suffering as a country. There are real problems. There are people unhoused. There are people hungry. There are people without medicine. So I'm not saying everybody should be happy all the time. I'm just saying in that moment, I should not have been poor me,
Mm-hmm. My wife, one of the things that made me fall in love with her and really commit my life to her is she decides to be happy every day, and really makes it, and it's a decision. And sometimes she doesn't make that decision, right? Sometimes it's hard and it doesn't happen the same way, but she acknowledges it's a decision. And that taught me a lot. And I realized that it is a decision. Every day you have to make that. And often, for me, what dictates my getting out of bed is deciding to how are you going to change the world today? But reframing that now that I have a family with how are you going to, bring mental health and happiness to your family and to yourself for others has been a pretty cool journey. I'm not quite there as far as she is, but
your wife is spectacularly amazing, and I'm so glad that you two have each other. Just because I care about you as a friend, I'm always so thankful that you have her. That's so yeah. Christopher, let's hear it.
Yes. Well, so for me, I'd probably say just with a year of such change, change in a good way, but a lot of crazy unknowns, new things I'm doing, telling people, things like that. Just the support that I've had, whether it's just from my friends, my family, you, Sarah, right? It's just the fact that I feel so supported and I feel so loved, and in everything that I want to do, doing these podcasts, talking crazy about politics to my friends, right? It's just I feel that support. And even though I annoy the hell out of them sometimes about it.
Well, because you're with a lot of liberals, right?
No, for my school, I live with lacrosse guys, so most of them are Republicans. But I have some of them, but mostly none of them are crazy Republicans. So it's, but a lot of them aren't informed as well. So I'm the one, and I take it upon myself to go do that for them.
That's so cute. I can so see you doing that.
And then I give them my spin on it.
I might need to have to go up there and talk to them all.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make sure to be there together though. So my voter base is staying in check. No, but I think it's it's the support and just almost like also how much I've seen myself grow this year and focused on myself to like Uncle Timmy said, just to be happy every single day, to wake up and have a purpose and be like, yes, I'm here. My feet are on the ground. I'm gonna go and do things. And touching grass too. We've talked about it before, but like go outside, get off.
Turn off your phones.
Turn off your phone, touch grass, go talk to a human being. I love striking up random conversations with people in the CVS in Waterville, right? And hear about their lives and even like politically, I talk to them about things and how, you know, the town has really gone downhill because when the mill towns left, and how it's starting to have this economic revival, but people are still struggling. And just to be able to have those conversations and remind myself to just engage and realize that people aren't, you know, the trolls that they are on social media or anything like that. And even if somebody doesn't seem like they want to engage in a conversation, just go up to them, say hi. The worst thing that's going to happen is they're mean to you and they say, okay.
Or they don't want to talk. Yeah,
exactly. And then it'll be like, okay, you got something going on. So I'm just going to move on.
Person with the Trump hat not talk to me when I go talk to them.
Exactly.
I've had people at a parade say, I'm a Republican, like, stop talking to me. And I'm like, oh, I'm friends with so many Republicans. I like Republicans. And because they want to stop because they're scared about what I'm going to say. Like they're actually scared of me. And I think that's kind of fascinating.
That happens all the time. I'm saying people who are like MAGA 2024 to
2028 hats. Exactly.
Like 32, like, you know, people who are like
the Trump dynasty.
They want to talk to you.
No,
they want to talk to you. Those
That's interesting. Yeah. Because my people, they didn't have the Trump hats on. They were just like, whoa. We're Republicans. Stop this. And I was like, no, wait.
I would like to say, you know, thankful for my health. As you know,
what a year you've had.
I've had, but it's been a long journey for my own health. I had some heart problems in 2019 that were not about health, or it was just about genetics, and I got that fixed, and that was 2019. And I hurt myself in a marathon that year, and I've been like literally ever since trying to, one problem after another, get back to healthy. And I feel healthier than I have since before that happened. And so it was a ton of work, and I'm still, you know, I go to physical therapy twice a week, and I'm just
you're swimming. You're slowly getting more laps, right?
Yep, slowly getting more laps in without pain, and like it's just you know. And I was anemic for so long, even during last election. That's
where I met you, was the anemic Tim, and now I've got pink-skinned Tim that makes me very happy. I had a much paler version of the person I met. Yeah, so, Chris and I, we're definitely very grateful for your health. I mean, I'm so glad you got that surgery, but it was intense because it was so painful.
Yeah, but one thing is access to healthcare. Like, it's become so evident to me living where we live, and especially where I am, no hospital. Kripa, I didn't tell you this. I went to go get my medicines, my monthly medicines from Walgreens in Charlestown. It's funny that he knows where Charlestown is.
I know where. I know the district
because he worked on the campaign.
Treva Hodges,
Mayor Treva Hodges.
She's a wonderful mayor, my favorite mayor.
I went there and it was closed. It was Saturday, and it was closed because they didn't have any pharmacists. And so, you know, this healthcare desert that I live in just gets worse and worse. And so I am very grateful that I know the healthcare system and can work it to get the things I need.
Yeah, but what about regular people that don't know the medical system like you?
Not be that way.
Yeah, and I mean, similarly for me, because I am obviously very different part of the country, but I'm in rural Maine. And last year when I needed to get hip surgery and had to get an MRI there, like the hospital in Maine doesn't have an MRI. It's a traveling MRI machine that goes from to Waterville because they don't have the capacity for it. And then I couldn't get on that one. And then I had to go all the way up to Bangor, an hour away, because that was the closest MRI machine. So and you see it. And I come from New York, right? I've good healthcare through my mom being a teacher in New York, and going to New York doctors compared to going to doctors in Maine, it's just vastly different. And you can see the level of care isn't there. Just the staffing in general, they're so overrun that wait times are even longer because they just don't have the capacity to do anything. And even more of their money gets stripped away from them.
Can I use this as just a moment to talk about the fact that I live in a right-to-work state, and your mother works in a non-right-to-work state, and therefore has a strong union and gets health care that is pretty amazing, that allows you to get health care even in Maine. So
that's interesting.
Plug there.
But like we all agree, we need to fix our healthcare system. We all agree on it. Yeah. It's just that we can't get people in the room. If only people were as good as Trump and Mamdani, who we thought were arch enemies and would never be in the same room together. If only we would do that, maybe we could like put people's needs first and fix some of these problems instead of what we're doing right now, which is making it worse.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Another thing I'm so thankful for, you talked about having a purpose, Christopher, and that really hit hard for me. Tim and I just celebrated a year anniversary of Project Next, which was a big gamble for us to start, and what a year it's been. And honestly, I am extremely proud of us. It's been a lot of learning and evolving and figuring it out, but like me having a purpose, making shows and putting people on that are doing good things and highlighting that, or putting on an issue that needs to be called out and call out the people that could be doing better, helps my mental health because I'm doing something. And I've also seen our shows actually highlight an issue more, cause more people to be aware of it, more pressure gets put on it, and sometimes things get slightly better. And so
that has happened many times.
Yeah. It's it's not like we do one show and bam, things are better. It's like we do a show about a cause, and then that person goes on to another show and does it, and they go to like 10 more shows, and eventually more people know about it. It's like we're part of something that's helping, and that helps my mental health a lot.
I think one of the things that I'm grateful for, and it's because of this show, is that I have had to remind myself sometimes, like, to practice what I preach, right? And even on here, I said this last time we were together, but like, I posted something on my story after Zhhran won. It was Elise Stefanik, and in it she said "Call me Mamdani," and Kate McNulty swiped up on my story, his cousin, and she was like,
Democrat.
A Democrat, very much so. And she was like, "Isn't this going against what you've been talking about on the reels?" She's like, "Call me Mamdani," and I'm like, "Wait, you're right." Like I did it because I was mad, right? I was pissed off, and I wanted to piss other people off. I wanted all the liberals.
You're mad that he won.
I love to see how many people unfollowed me after I posted.
Right, because you were angry.
What? Because I was angry.
Know she did that. She texted me about something. What's wrong with your nephew? I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Exactly. But then we had
an
entire 2-day conversation through Instagram DMs talking about what I think about Zhhran, what she thinks going on. We didn't agree on much, but we came to the conclusion, wait, we both really care about education. This is the model that we would like for education, right? And we realized we do care about the same things. I just don't think Zhhran's going to do it, and nor does she think Trump is. But just that, simply calling that out, I literally took a step back and was like, okay, wait, right now I could be super defensive and say, he is a communist, all this stuff, right? Or I could be like, you're right, right? And just
that was like, what a humble moment. I'm really proud of you for saying that on the show. And I wish I would have thought of it last time, but since you told me this, now I'm like, Christopher, we have to let the man be mayor and see how he does before we judge him.
I have to give him a chance.
You're scared of the label, which I've heard you say on our show before. We shouldn't label people, even though he is labeling himself this. Let's see what that interpretation of it is for New York City. Can he do some good? Let's judge his actions instead of being fearful of the label beforehand. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We can talk about it more often.
I'm just going through a mind blown of why Kate said that to me. I was like, what is she? Why is out of nowhere?
She's so cute. Uncle Timmy and nephew Christopher is adorable.
When I got that, I was like, Kate, gosh, I rarely talk to her. What is this about? And then I see the common Mamdani thing. I'm like, oh God, here we go.
And Tim, you know what was really wonderful that happened recently was your interview with your dad that you did for Veterans Day. That's one of my favorite episodes of Project Next. Didn't you love that?
I learned a lot about my grandpa that I didn't even know.
And to see Tim learn about his dad. I don't think Tim remembered his dad was 80.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
exactly. When I hear that too, I'm like, there's no way. He's looked the same for the past 20 years.
And so, and that was a very hard day for me, family wise. It had tragedy in the family, and so did that with him, and he all day saying, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I'm like, "I actually need to do this."
and because of your hard day emotionally, your interview with your father was better because you were more emotional and open and honest.
Mhm.
And so I was like hurting for my friend going through sad things and like really moved by the interview and knowing you were better because of your heartbreak.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
that makes sense, but it's also like it didn't feel like as much like a podcast, right? It felt like we were at Thanksgiving tomorrow and Pop-Up was telling us about his career, right? And his time in Vietnam and as a veteran. So like I think that was what made it so good, because it was like, oh, you're having a conversation with your dad, right? Like,
Christopher, you know what one of my favorite parts of that show was when Al was commenting on little Timmy running down the
the mess
tables or
hall,
whatever, through
yeah.
the tables, yeah, of the veterans shelter that he helped start in New York City. And he just like he had this twinkle in his eye because he was remembering his son as a little kid doing that. And that was my favorite moment. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, my heart. It was so sweet. So thank you, Tim, for doing that episode. I'm really grateful for you, Tim. Thank you for being my friend. We said when we were friends, but not as close as we are now, when we were making this a year ago, we said, well, we put our mental health first. I said, you and I were co-founders of Project Next. Our mental health comes first. Our families come first. You have a 3-year-old and a wife. I have 3 children and a husband. So I feel like we've done a good job of that. And I'm really thankful that if I had to pick one co-founder, that it was you to do this with. So I just want to say thank you.
Well,
I'm
thank you.
grateful.
I mean, you've been very true to your word on that and supportive during this. We didn't expect this year to go the way it went. There were a number of things that happened that could have knocked me or you or any of us off of our horses. And
Yeah. Getting more locally and nationally known comes with some perks and some negative things.
that's
So
right.
it's nice to have friends that know what it's like.
Yeah, it's been great. No, I'm so grateful for you, and you obviously are the face of Project Next, and you are the heart of this in so many ways. And um, it has been just an incredible pleasure to work with you during this time. And
Well, thanks. But I mess up.
yeah,
That's the thing that's I mess up sometimes. Sometimes my opinions change. Sometimes the things I say on our live shows I shouldn't have said, or I could have said better, or I had faulty info. And to forgive myself is hard. And you never once, Tim, have like called me up being like, Sarah, I can't believe you said this thing, when I know people in the background were saying, did you know what Sarah said? I know you were getting that. You never once called me and yelled at me. You've only been 100% supportive, which, let me tell you, I need. So thank you.
I do get calls, and I do take the heat sometimes on more of like the leaders in Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Back, channeling to me, what are you guys doing? Why did you do that? Why did you put this person on the hot seat? Why did you, do XYZ? Why don't you do this thing too? Like, that'll benefit us. Why don't you do that?
I like it when the Democrats first knew of our media company. They're like, we can use this. And we're like, no, that's not what this is for. You start your own little media company over there. You do your own lives. Yeah, it was a learning curve for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. When I was on Scott's show, I got called racist white bigot with a calm delivery. And I'm like, I'll take the calm delivery.
Love that so much. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody said that they liked the Jesse episode. Jesse Brown, right? Am I getting his name right? He's our city councilor in Indianapolis. Yeah, he's my favorite city councilor. Yeah, I have had him on twice, and he's been on Scott's show a few times. Yeah. So thanks for saying that.
You're up with Jason Kerber as well, or
yeah, we definitely got some heat by having a Republican cop on the show, and it's a Republican cop that I don't agree with 100%, but he's a really nice human being, and I'm friends with him. And so I was like, it was kind of a rare situation where I was comfortable telling him, I think what you think is wrong. Like, I wouldn't say it on the show. I would say it in the background when he would tell me something that was a fake Republican fear. I would say, like, that's wrong, and here's why. And then he would be like, oh, and he like learn it from me. So yeah, we got a lot of heat from that.
Talking about heat, I've gotten so much heat for that. And we the three of us did an op-ed in the News and Tribune.
That's right. Me, you, and Jason. Yes.
Forgot about that.
And I've been to 2 Jason events, and you've been to 1, and Jason's been to 1 of yours.
That's right. Yeah.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? Like,
that's newsworthy, right? That got published, and they picked that op-ed up right away. We did not have to do any work to convince them.
No. That was very fast. Yeah. So, Christopher, what are your plans for this next year? We're going to keep doing the mental fitness shows, hopefully you're game to keep doing that.
Yeah, of course.
And like, I'm really proud of you for saying the comment about Mamdani, and then you realized you were wrong and you took a step back. That's pretty amazing of you. And I wish all of us, all humans, did that more. What are your thinking for doing this show? You know, Project Next leans a little bit more to the left. Yeah. What are your plans? What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, like I want to say before, like how grateful I am just merely for this platform that you both gave me. I think I've transcended the nepotism claims a little bit. But now,
that's so cute.
No, truly, as somebody who wants to go into politics, who's 21 in college, doesn't really have a name for himself out there at all, can't, call up Fox News and say, I want to talk to you guys right now. You guys have given me the platform to be able to actually take everything I've written in my notes app about what I want to do with politics and actually start preaching it and telling people and hearing feedback on it. And just to see how my core foundational beliefs haven't changed, but the way in which I see the world and interact with people now just completely has. And I think that is because of the setup of this show. I always say I'd rather talk to people I disagree with than I completely agree with. I don't want to go into the echo chamber even more. So coming here, being challenged on my ideas, but also it's not like the show, the Who's Left that I was on before, where it was just a constant bombardment of, the Republican. It's a conversation between 2 normal people who happen to have differing political opinions, but love each other, want to see each other do well, want to see each other have success. And as a result, show that to people rather than screaming and posting on social media and making the problem worse.
And that's a recommendation I have for other people to do this, because I'll be like super stressed out about the news and the division. And then I'll be like, oh, I wonder if Christopher will talk about this on the show with me. And then I instantly feel better because I know we're going to have a conversation. But it works because we do genuinely love each other. Like, we care so much about each other as friends. So I recommend that to people watching. Find a person that votes differently than you that you love. That helps, because that relationship is going to stay. I know if you say something that makes me mad, I don't care. I'm still going to love you. So that's a good, and like when we first started doing the shows, we weren't at where we are now.
No.
It took a mutual trust in each other that you weren't going to be mean to me and I wasn't going to be mean to you. And after we kind of practiced it a little bit, then we got more comfortable to do the super, super controversial topics, you know?
As well, but you were game right away when I introduced the idea of Christopher to you. You were like, oh yeah, that sounds great. We should have him on. Right. So you
have to take credit for that, because me working with you on the campaign, you're like, Sarah, go talk to that Republican over there. And I'm like, okay, when I wouldn't have done it if you wouldn't have suggested it to me. So you're complimenting me from something that I practiced from you.
You didn't bring me to the Democratic state convention. I would have never sat next to Sarah and met her and talked. And
wait, is that where you met?
That's where we met.
Yeah, we were at that dinner together.
Yeah.
And then you saw me give my first speech as a state house candidate, right? When we were all like starving, waiting for lunch. And I was like really trying to be like, I got to give a good speech because I'm trying to impress Tim Peck, who's running for Congress. I want him to know I'm somebody that can help him.
That's right. So I was running for Congress, and Crippa was on my Christopher. Excuse me.
That's all right.
That's what we call him. That's what his
Who?
Crippa.
His older sister couldn't.
No, not my older. It was a kid I went to daycare with. Couldn't say my name. So the first time he tried to say it, came out Crippa.
Oh, I thought it was
So that's a nickname for you, Crippa?
Yeah, I've been called it by everybody, teachers.
Okay, Uncle Timmy, Crippa. Okay, I'm finding out all kinds of stuff.
So this is the first time I slipped on that. Sorry about that. But he was on the campaign. He worked on the campaign, and I think probably learned a lot. And we had a lot of those conversations that the two of you have, but 6-hour drives together, and 16-hour days. And that was, we've always had these conversations, but that was a time where the two of us could really, really get into it. And when you're that deep into it, it becomes, there's no criticism anymore, right? Yep. It's just talking, it's just learning. And so that was a really special time in my life. So I'm grateful for that.
I think one of my favorite moments was like staying up till 2 a.m. writing your convention speech and being like,
which killed.
It was great. I mean, that was like one of his best speeches of the campaign, but it was just like there's like minor words, phrases, things like that. Oh, maybe you want to say it a little differently. You might not appeal to some Republicans if you say it like that. Just like those things. Meanwhile, and I think understanding the candidate too is a huge thing, because like I, as a Republican, wanted to come in to provide Republican insight, but had to understand that this is the candidate. What he says, what his values are, is what needs to be preached as well. So understanding that when you're working within politics too, like your values aren't always the ones that need to go. You're going to vote based on your values. But if you're working for somebody within politics, you have to make sure that their message is being put forward. And by doing that, I came over to the moderated a little bit, because I was like, wait, Uncle Timmy does have some good points. And like, we agree on a lot of stuff. Like that makes sense.
So yeah, just like everybody hear what he's saying here. By hanging out with people on the other side, you both learn things about the other side, and you come to just mutual agreement, mutual compromise, just naturally. But when we stop the talking, we're stopping that from happening. And now you didn't come down here and announce to everybody you were a Republican. You didn't come down to that Democrat convention and get up on that table and be like, Republican here, helping Tim with his campaign.
I remember because at some events I had to say I voted for Biden, which was not easy.
No, because it wouldn't have been a safe place. You would have been yelled at, right? You would have been yelled at by our friends that we care about.
We went to a Bloomington event. It was Stonewall Democrats, which is LGBTQ Democrats, and others, and also the Monroe Democratic Party had a picnic, and we introduced you as a Nikki Haley Republican.
I remember that.
And
that sounds a lot safer. We like Nikki Haley Republican.
That became the phrase. It's like, he's a Nikki Haley Republican.
That is the best way to say it. It really
and it would be like if like at the Clark County Fair, like when there was a Republican going by, I'd be like, oh, hey, how are you? And then I'd be like, oh, I'm a Republican working on this campaign. You should learn about Tim.
Yeah. It's just clearly doing this is the right thing. Clearly talking to the other side, realizing we're all humans. The opposite is basically whenever you think the other side is a monster, you dehumanize them. You start thinking that they're scary and going to hurt you, so you got to protect yourself, and then you become scary to them. And that's the opposite of what we're doing. And I really love our new show that I just started. I've done 2 episodes now, From Prison to Pastor, with Richard Genzero, who had a violent crime at age 16, shot 2 people and took their car, and then spent 14 and a half years in maximum security prison. And while he was in prison, dedicated to give himself lead a nonviolent life. His vision matches up really well with Project Next. Nonviolence is the answer. Talking, peace, compromise, discussion, words, sitting down in a room and not leaving until you come to some mutual agreement works, and it's the right answer. And if your news and social media are taking you down a path where you're not thinking that, this is a great time to reset. to reset your news you're watching, to turn off your phones, to find the unity things like Project Next and Builders Movement and stuff like that. And it's like, it's just so obvious, the three of us sitting here talking about the last year, how important that is.
When I met him,
Met who? Oh, Rich.
When I met Rich, it was at the Pride event in Madison. And this is one of these moments where I was at a Pride event in Madison, Indiana, and I saw a guy with a collar. And I was like, I need to talk to that guy.
Yeah. Talk to the pastor supporting the Pride community.
I was like, I got to talk to that guy. And then that led to a relationship.
So good job having that interview. And then I called him and talked to him for like an hour and a half and convinced him to do a show with me.
Yeah, you did. You twisted. And he's there. It's amazing. And that show is great. And I think it's, let's talk about this. It's been interesting to explore religion and politics from the left.
Yeah.
Coming from the left. Right. And so we have Doctor and a Priest walk into a podcast, and my uncle who's, votes both sides, but definitely has moved more Democrat in his views, but not all. Some of them are way right, actually. He's just
right. But he's willing to talk about it and share why
he thinks he's a Democrat or a Republican. He's just himself. And
right.
He's just Uncle Ted. He's just Uncle Ted.
He just has his own views. So
you got some cool relatives, Christopher, but it makes sense for why you're so amazing.
But he's another good example of someone who around the table and long conversations, car rides, whatever it is, or just calling him up and just disagreeing openly and having deep conversations.
I love my conversations with Uncle Ted because one, he wants to hear your perspective. He's like, I want to hear what the young people are saying.
Yeah.
And so I tell him, and a lot of times, like, he'll start usually saying, I was listening to my New York Times podcast and they said this. And then I'm like, okay, well, here's what I think, Uncle Ted. And it's just a back and forth. And he's like, I can see where you're coming from when you're talking about, legal immigration being legal, but like these are human beings. I'm like, you're right about that, Uncle Ted. So just those, and I think his delivery is the best to it because you can never have a screaming match with him because he is same tone, so calm, cool, collected the entire time, no matter what happens. So it's like, if you raise your voice, you look like the crazy one that's screaming at a priest. So, but it forces you to have a cordial conversation with someone and realize like, oh my God, my views aren't that extreme. And a lot of people think the way I do.
He's a really special guy. And so
that's a big gratitude I have. My thoughts on religion have changed. I have religious trauma. I don't like to go to church. I don't like to listen to somebody get up and use the name of God to influence and have propaganda and make us think things that I think are judgmental and wrong. And so I was very closed off to listening to anybody who's using religion as their job. And I interviewed my friend from high school, Scott Johanningsmeyer, who's a Baptist preacher and wrote a book about Jesus that's very progressive. And he asked me to be on the show. And I only would have said yes because I knew he was a good person. I'm not just going to let somebody who's selling a book come on. You know what I mean? And then meeting Rich. So the two of them and then Uncle Ted. So the three of them helped me kind of let go of a lot of hurt that I have from religion, because there are a lot of good from religion, a lot of amazing things, and there are also a lot of hurt. And I don't like it when the religious side acts like the hurt isn't happening. It's like, we need to acknowledge it. So if the person is willing to acknowledge the hurt and say, like, we need to keep working on fixing it and making things better, I'm more willing to listen to what they say. But I let a lot of that go this year. A lot of the pain that I had, that I faced through, especially my teenage years. So that's kind of really beautiful.
In the beginning, when you were setting up the shows for Uncle Ted and myself, like you just didn't want to listen to it, right? You at first, you're like,
right, you're right, because that's when I still had it inside me, the hurt.
I can't do it, and I understood that it was you don't have to listen to it, and slowly you kind of came around to it, but you also got to meet him and just
That's what did it, is because he's a wonderful human being who loves people so much. It wasn't the label. I don't base people on labels. You know, I don't base because they say they're a pastor or a priest or a doctor. It has to be who they are as a person.
I also love the viewership of that show because it's not as big as anything we do. It's probably the smallest of what we do, but it's the deepest. Like people who watch that show love, like they wouldn't miss
my strong Catholic family members like that show a lot.
Right. So it's special to be going that deep into something.
Because we need to talk about religion. We need to. It's huge.
Just one more thing, and from my congressional campaign, from people who are around, you have to message this, that, the other thing. They often say that show is too boring. You shouldn't be doing it. And I'm like, for the people who watch it, it's just a thing.
It's like, you don't have to watch all Project Next shows. They're for different types of people. Yes, right. Christopher, what were you saying?
I was literally going to say the same thing. It's just some people care about religion. So when you have such a broad base of topics that you're talking about, then you can bring in so many different demographics. And I don't think people realize that on a somewhat left-leaning show, they wouldn't expect any mention of religion. And if it was mentioned, it would be just completely lambasting it and saying that it's terrible, right? So just the mere, not only acknowledgement, but the inclusion of religion opens up people's minds. And it's the same thing of having a Republican on too, just by seeing, oh wait, this Project Next has a Republican on today. You know what? I might watch it now just to see what it's like. It expands the tent, which is what we need to do.
That's what I've gotten heat as well for having the religious bent on there. I've had people say, when you put the numbers, meaning the book and verse up, and that
I get it. I get why people have those feelings.
Yeah. And that idea of you're pushing religion into my living room in some way. And, you have the option to watch it or not. And that's for you. But if you actually watched it, you would see we're not really pushing religion on anybody.
Also, we have quite a few shows going against the Christian nationalism type, government type Christianity. So in the same week, I have a pastor on, and I have people on that are talking about LifeWise and how it's scary. And then Pastor Rich fights LifeWise. Here's a pastor fighting this. So it's let's just stop hiding and pretending it's not an issue. Let's open it up and explain, because it's not black and white. It's all kinds of gray. There are good types of religion and there are bad types of religion, and it's okay to acknowledge it,
Yeah, I think one of the best things I think this can do, hopefully is that, and you see it with a person like Micah Beckwith, to try to get people to realize, because religion is such a controversial topic, no matter if you're for it or against it, but not try to use religion to justify a political position. And that, I think, is you can be based in your values based on your religion and your faith, but do not justify any action politically because of that religion. Because while you believe those things, you are representing people who may not have those religious beliefs. And in a country where we have separation of church and state, and there shouldn't be any religion involved within government, that is where that has to separate. So it's not you shouldn't talk about your religion, but justify your policy positions in logic rather than religion or faith.
Yeah. We will talk more about religion this next year. I want to have more Republicans on. So, if you're a Republican listening and you would like to be on the show, you get more of an effort to be on, because we would like to speak with you. We're not going to be cruel with you or anything. I think there were Jason was told by 15 people not to come on the show with me.
More than 15.
He called me after we set the date. He's like, listen, a lot of people are calling me saying not to talk. Are you going to do? And he just listed their fears to me. And I just explained each one how they weren't going to happen. I said, listen, we've talked enough. You know me enough by now. And so it was a leap of faith for both of us to do a live show at my house, and we need to do that more, because we've got to show that most of us want to put the community first. Most of us want the same things, so it's just how we get there, right, Christopher? Sometimes we disagree on how we get those things. Yeah. And I look forward to talking to you after, like, I'm going to be like looking at the headlines for New York City mayor and being like, oh, this was a good thing. And you're going to be looking at the headlines and be like, oh, this is the bad thing. And we're going to like share them with each other and let's like get into it.
Oh,
Sounds
definitely.
fun.
After January, we'll actually be able to see what he does.
I'm excited about his all-woman team. If anybody saw that, his social media, he knows how to get a liberal woman excited. Just saying.
I don't mind that it's all women. I just mind that they're all from the de Blasio administration.
See, I don't know enough about it.
That's the former mayor who was the last Democratic Socialist we had, and New York City didn't do too well under him.
Yeah, so I mean, right now, like his social media is full of we're getting ready. We got the best experts coming in. They're going to work on the things they know how to do, and so it looks like he's gearing up. So I'm excited. You're fearful, and let's talk about it on our mental fitness show every 2 weeks.
I think I'm more weary than fearful. If I lived in New York City, maybe I'd be fearful. But
and my stance on this on him is, we've nationalized this city race, and what's good for one place might not be good for another. And you have to represent the people that are in your district, your city, your state, whatever it might be. And your politics and your way of governing has to match what people need. Yeah. And so I would really like to stop comparing what we need in Indiana to what the city needs.
That's very true.
It is a very different place.
There's a lot of people on the far left right now saying, look what happened in New York City. If we're not a candidate like that, we're wasting our time. Only support candidates like that. And we're like, calm down here. Indiana, rural Indiana is not New York City. Mm-hmm. So while the same hand, I like a lot of what he's saying, our needs and the way we get there are totally different.
Where we are is different.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So where New York City is versus where we are in terms of our political structures, in terms of the infrastructure that we have in our areas, in terms of the services that we have and how it's being funded one way or another are completely different places.
Our tax system, everything.
But Mamdani is not, he's not a purist. He is everybody is welcome to the table. He literally went to the White House and spoke to Donald Trump. So it angers me when the far to the left people are always like, you're not pure enough for us. You're not far enough to the left for us. When the person they're holding up saying is doing a great job is literally meeting with who we think is the ultimate enemy. So even though you don't like his policies, Christopher, you have to acknowledge pretty awesome that he's talking to Trump. And I have to give Trump credit that he welcomed Mamdani.
Well, and that's like the thing I say to people all the time too. It's like, oh, if you saw Joe Biden in a restaurant, would you go and say hi and take a picture? I'm like, of course I would. It's the president of the United States. That's still the mayor of New York City. Like, no matter who it is, that person was elected by the people, so you respect the position they're in. I could talk about how I don't like the policies all day, right? But the people voted. That's your president, or that's your mayor and everything. So you support, maybe not the policy, but you support the position, right? And that's how the country starts to fray if we don't support our elected leaders and we continue to rail against them and say how terrible they are, because then we no longer have faith in our institutions. And when we're not electing people that we have faith in to those institutions, and we no longer have faith in them at all, then we'd start to not care. And then worse people get elected, and then worse things happen.
Yeah. I just want to point out, because a lot of people are liberals that listen to the show and they don't understand why you don't like him. Isn't one of the reasons that you don't think he can deliver on the promises he made? Is that one of them?
Yeah, well, I think like everything he said, it sounds great. It's very idealistic. But in terms of raising taxes on the rich, higher corporate taxes, everything that has to be done through the state legislature. And
you just don't think it's actually going to get passed.
The Democratic governor has said, even though she's leaned into Zhhran, has said she has no plans on raising taxes. So when you talk and like on a state level, this could be what he was running on for the governor, right? But you have to remember, even though New York City has such a big national profile there, Mayor, it's still a municipality that you're dealing with. You still have to deal with local regulations, and you have a state that gives you the majority of your funding. So the free buses, free childcare, increasing taxes on the rich to be able to pay for everything, the government-run grocery stores, that all sounds well and great when you have the money for it, but we don't have the money for it. And the way he wants to get the money for it, he can't do.
So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, because you're saying it's impossible.
Wait and see. But that would mean that Kathy Hochul would have to go against her word where she said there will be no new taxes. And then you have to remember Kathy Hochul is in a governor race for 2026 against Elise Stefanik, and they're virtually tied in polling right now. So she can't lean in to the far left any more than she already has done, right? So if she raised taxes on people fulfilling what Zhhran wants, I think she loses the gubernatorial election.
Where I like Mamdani, and I think he's different from other people, is that I think he will compromise.
Yeah.
I think he will compromise, and I think people will get some stuff better. So that's what I hope will happen.
So do I.
And the better he does, the more Hochul can go left.
True, but it's also
that's a good point.
You also have to understand though that New York, the pockets it's New York City, and Westchester is where it's blue. Everything else is red.
Not everything, but yeah,
pretty much.
This is so cute because Christopher really cares about this. It's so cute.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So
adorable.
Lee Zeldin got 45% of the vote last election.
Look at this, so cute.
We'll talk about it on Thanksgiving.
Too bad we can't set up a live cam.
But it is a good example. Like, we're talking about New York politics right now on that. If we talk about Indiana politics, we also have to talk about the way the economy works and the way taxes work. And if you don't understand those things, it's really hard to say, to get into the conversation in a way that really can get deep into it and have a conversation with us, right? Like, you need to understand tax structure of that area to make it happen. It's so mundane, right? But it is the reality of it. To have public grocery stores in southern Indiana, like, there's just not enough money, right? There is enough money in New York City to do that, if you wanted to shift it from one place to another.
That makes sense, because think about the millionaires and billionaires living in New York City as opposed to
exactly. New York benefits off being, the economic hub of the entire world. You don't have that in Indiana.
It's a good point. Yeah, I didn't really think of it that way, but you're so right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and let you all get back to your family. Again, jealous Tim, give Chris a hug for me. Christopher, both of you, happy Thanksgiving. I'm really looking forward to this holiday. I just wanted to say I talked to Bo Bai this week on the phone, finally. Been trying to get him to call me for like a month, and he is going to come on Project Next in early January. So he is running for Secretary of State. There's a big contest between him and Blythe Potter, who we already have had on the show a few times on Project Next. So be looking forward to that. And then we have a store. Tim, you saw this. Christopher, do you know this? We have a store now.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, go to HeyElmer/Project Next, and you can get Project Next merch. And it helps us, and it helps a local business in Corden, Elmer Ramos, one of my good friends. So you can get shirts, hats, hoodies, stickers, magnets, and it's a bunch of colors. I went big. You can even get a dad hat or a trucker hat. Like, I tried to go with like lots of options, lots of colors. You can get kids shirts. I'm going to get my kids some. They're going to be so cute wearing little Project Next shirts. And then on the back of it, it says, all about community is our like slogan. So nice. Project Next, all about community. So I'm thankful for Elmer. Oh, and we're going to do a show soon. Where I'm going to go to his store and show it to you and like show him making a print. So you'll get to see the local business that you help out. But if you want to help us spread our message, wear a shirt, wear a hat. And when people ask what it is, encourage them to subscribe.
If you're making an online store of your own, he's a great person to work with. He's been great. I've worked with him now this third time to make something. So, yeah, look local if you're going to do that.
Yeah, he was on our 5-hour live. That was cool. Oh, yeah, right. Elmer's awesome. Yeah, Elmer's very cool. Yeah, so anything else? Okay, the show went long. Sorry, guys. I thought it was going to be like a quick, but it was so nice having you two in person. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Have the best Thanksgiving. Thank you so much to our Project Next fans. We're so thankful for you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for helping with this message community. Thank you for those of you that are having tough conversations and talking to people who vote differently or talking to people who don't vote. That's what we need to do to save the country and unite and save our state. So
and thank you to the people who disagree with us.
Hell yeah.
Listen.
Put it on there.
Yeah.
Like, put it in the comments. We want to hear what you think so we know, you know, do we need to think about that? Are we wrong? Is there a way we can explain it better? Like, yeah, tell us if you agree or disagree. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.